Once hailed as the mightiest man in the known world, Marcus Aurelius was on a quest to live virtuously, following the Stoic principles. Unlike many Roman emperors, he didn't indulge in the readily available pleasures like drowning in wine or spectating sadistic games at the Colosseum. Marcus Aurelius aimed to fulfill the duty that fortune had bestowed upon him, to serve humanity. Thus, he cared deeply about living up to his purpose. Yet, to do so, he needed to care less about things unworthy and unwise of concern. And those things are plentiful. A fundamental concept of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, eloquently explained in Epictetus's Enchiridion. Most, if not all, things beyond our own actions lie outside our control. Does that mean we should renounce the world? Certainly not. But the Stoics believed that we should be realistic about our limited influence over these things and that we burden ourselves unnecessarily if we're not. When life hurts, it often means we care about things beyond our control, and by doing so, we allow them to control us and play us like puppeteers. So, we blame the puppeteers for pulling our strings when, in reality, we allowed them to. But if we stop caring about them, they lose power over us, and we become serene. For Marcus Aurelius, not being disturbed by things outside his control allowed him to deal with the many responsibilities and challenges he faced as an emperor and focus on the task he believed he had been given by the gods. For Epictetus, it meant freedom. For others, not being moved by external forces or a selection of them could be a way to focus on goals that truly matter. And for others, it might simply be a path to a happy, carefree life. When life hurts, what are the things we should stop worrying about? And how do we do that? This video is a free exploration and interpretation of Marcus Aurelius's philosophy on caring less about things that aren't worth it. By the way, you'll find more Stoic wisdom in this book, Stoicism for Inner Peace, which contains my collected works on staying calm and focused in these challenging times. You'll find a link in the description. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius often distinguishes between the present, past, and future. In each category, the ancient Roman emperor has valuable insights into how we worry too much about them, or in the wrong ways, or about the wrong things. For clarity and structure, this essay is subdivided into these categories, starting with the future. As Seneca once stated, we suffer more in imagination than in reality, implying that our thoughts are the source of our suffering. When it comes to the future, our imagination often runs wild, inventing countless scenarios of what could happen, but probably never will. In advance, we think of ways to deal with possible outcomes while trembling at the idea of not knowing how the future will eventually unfold. In some cases, what happens is what we anticipated. But in many other cases, fortune surprises us, overwhelming us with events we couldn't have foreseen. For instance, we could have spent years preparing for a well-deserved retirement only to receive, before the first day of our twilight years, a diagnosis of fatal cancer that gives us only a few more months to live. The possibility of such events leads many to continuous worries. The best may happen, but also the worst. What if the Third World War breaks out? What if I lose all my money? Such adverse outcomes are very much possible. But while they're not happening in the present, we can't deal with them because these events simply aren't occurring, at least not yet. They only exist in our thoughts. The future only bothers us because we think about it, for it doesn't exist outside the mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote that it's not the weight of the future pressing down on us, but only that of the present. It's not the future that hurts us, but how we deal with it in the present. The misery of the future happens in the present. And ironically, it's not the future unfolding in the present, for when we encounter it, it's already present. The misery of the future is our concern with it now. When we care too much about future events, life eventually starts to hurt as we suffer them in our imagination, letting them dictate our present. So, what does Marcus Aurelius say about caring too much about the future? First, let's consider the following quote. "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." End quote. He emphasized that if he could handle the present, he could also handle the future. He told himself not to imagine all the terrible things that could happen, but rather to stay with the present situation. When he focused on the present, he realized he could endure it. And if that's the case, why wouldn't he be able to deal with what's to come? This attitude resembles the idea of amor fati, the love of fate, but then strengthened with the confidence that we will be able to overcome it. The past. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself how existence swiftly passes and disappears into the infinite beyond our grasp. The past, like the future, is a domain in which we cannot operate. What's gone is gone, and unless we invent a time machine, we can't change anything about it. Marcus Aurelius stated, and I quote, "Remember that man lives only in the present in this fleeting instant. All the rest of his life is either already gone and beyond our grasp or yet to come. So, man's life is short, and narrow is the corner of the earth where he dwells." Despite the narrowness of our lives, which occurs only in the present moment, we're often overly preoccupied with those areas that lie outside of it and cannot be accessed, the future and the past. Marcus Aurelius stated that the past practically means nothing and is indifferent in the present. It's not that events that occurred in the past don't influence the present or that we can't learn from past events. It's just that we can't work with the past because it's out of our reach. And often our memories of the past are muddled, and the ways to verify what exactly happened are limited. We rely on recollections from personal perspectives and different viewpoints of ourselves or others. So the past is not only out of reach, our remembrance of it is most likely inaccurate. Still, we continue to care about past events, often replaying them in our minds, reliving the pain they caused us. Some believe that by thinking about the past, we can have some control over it. But that's an illusion. The past is gone. All we try to control are our thoughts about something that has been taken away, never to return. "I wish I could have done that differently," many people say. But they wish for the impossible. Nothing can be gained from such thoughts, as they evoke desires we can never fulfill. Instead of focusing on past events themselves, Marcus Aurelius focused on his reaction to them. We can't control past events. We probably couldn't have prevented them when they occurred in the present either. But we can control how we position ourselves regarding those events. Initially, we might consider the past as something unfortunate. We might have had difficult childhoods or experienced the end of friendships or failed business ventures. But according to Marcus Aurelius, the nature of these events isn't as important. What matters is how we deal with them. He stated, "It's a shame that this happened. No. It's fortunate that this happened and that I emerged unharmed by it, undisturbed by the present or frightened by the future. It could have happened to anyone, but not everyone could have emerged unharmed by it. Why treat one as a misfortune and the other as a stroke of luck? Can you really call something unfortunate that doesn't violate human nature? Or do you think that something that is not against the will of nature can violate it? But you know what your will is. What happened prevents you from acting with justice, generosity, self-control, sanity, prudence, honesty, humility, frankness, and all the other qualities that allow a person's nature to be fulfilled." Interestingly, Marcus Aurelius doesn't completely dismiss the value of the past. He believed that we could learn from the past by observing its rhythm, how things come and go, repeating themselves, so that we can extrapolate the future. The present. The present. Marcus Aurelius often mentions that the present moment is all we have. It's the narrow field to which we have access. From the present, we can face the infinite abyss of the past and the impenetrable darkness of the future. Marcus Aurelius encouraged himself to stick with what was under his control, this moment. But even when we set aside the past and minimize our concerns about the future, we can still care too much about things that aren't worth it, the things happening in this exact moment. Often we're dissatisfied with how life unfolds at the moment, and when things don't go as we wish, we tend to get angry, sad, or depressed. But, according to Marcus Aurelius, getting emotionally disturbed by what fortune brings us is futile. How the world around us unfolds is not under our control. How we react to it is. However, we tend to get disturbed because we don't like what's happening, or because what we desire doesn't happen. Marcus Aurelius stated that we shouldn't fight against what we are compelled to do. He compared people who fight against fortune to pigs, kicking and screaming when sacrificed. It's futile since we cannot prevent what the gods have in store for us. We can't stop people from wanting to fight in wars. We can't stop natural disasters from happening. We can't prevent our bodies from aging. Likewise, we can't force the world to grant our wishes. We have no guarantee that the people we're attracted to are also attracted to us, nor do we have the certainty that all human beings have the same opportunities in life. It's simply not possible. Yet we spend so much time and energy resisting what is and what we cannot change through any means in our arsenal. We're angry because we don't have what we want, and sad because what we don't like has occurred. And thus, the present moment becomes a torture chamber in which we suffer at every whim of fortune. Or conversely, we're so delighted with the present moment that we cling to it. We're afraid of losing what we have, so once again, we let fortune control us. But due to our total involvement in everything around us, fleeting and ungovernable, we often fail to see what's truly under our control, our choices, actions, and opinions. Marcus Aurelius saw the law of nature as our master. If we stray from it or feel sorrow or anger over it, we're nothing more than deserters and runaways. We must accept the ways of nature, embrace them, and focus on dealing with them instead of wasting our energy getting disgusted or clinging to our circumstances. One way to accept the present that he wrote in the 7th book of his Meditations, arguing that we should focus on what we have, not what we lack, but cautiously. I quote, "Treat what you don't have as non-existent. Look at what you have, the things you value most, and consider how much you would desire them if you didn't have them. But be careful. Don't feel so much satisfaction that you begin to overestimate them, to the point of being upset when you lose them." End of quote. However, accepting circumstances can be difficult, especially when we face significant hardships and life keeps handing us lemons repeatedly. Can't we just catch a break? But for Marcus Aurelius, adversity is not an excuse to behave like pigs screaming and shouting. He argues that it's an opportunity to practice virtue, or in other words, apply Stoic philosophy to our lives. The art of living isn't about how amazing and fortunate our external circumstances are, as they are unstable, weak, fickle, and not truly ours. It's about how we face the events we encounter. That's what we should care about according to the Stoics. As Marcus Aurelius stated, "For me, the present is an opportunity for the exercise of rational virtue, civic virtue. In short, the art that men share with the gods. Both treat everything that happens as entirely natural, not new or difficult to deal with, but familiar and easily manageable." Thank you for joining us on this Stoic journey. Remember always, the power to shape our happiness lies in our own hands, and through the constant practice of virtue and understanding of the things within our control, we can find peace and fulfillment. Keep exploring the depths of Stoicism in your daily life. Before you go, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with others who might benefit from Stoic wisdom. Until next time, may Stoic wisdom light your way.